Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks Live. It's Tuesday morning, and I was thinking to kick this one off, I'd talk about the leadership and setting examples, because we've seen the boomers, doing their No King's Day and shit. Not all of them, but there's a loud group of them who want to make a lot of noise and set examples for young people. And Lake, just another guy in the woods. What's up? But I believe that Gen X, we lead by example. We're not loud and in your face type of leadership. We lead by example. And that goes back to, we've heard that our entire lives, you lead by example. And we've heard a lot of those kind of Planet Xer, what's up? Who is that? Who is Planet Xer? Do you go by another username? Did YouTube change your username? But a Rolling Stone gathers no moss. These kind of euphemisms, these old sayings, and a lot of Generation X took them to heart. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, good to know that. Do you want me to put Planet Xer here on the banner? I think that's what I have there. Maybe not. No, I don't think. I'll change it to Planet X on the banner. I think I have God's Warrior on the banner. I'll change it to Planet X if you want me to. Okay, will do. I'll just make sure it's right. I see the banner there, but I haven't seen your name on it yet. I know it's on there. I just forget which one is on there right now. But yeah, Gen X, as a rule, now not. Of course, not 100%, but as a rule, Gen X, it leads in a more quiet way, living our lives the best we know how, and setting an example for the young people by doing it, not by loudly saying it, by screaming it from rooftops, but it's more of a subtle, quiet leadership. And okay, all right, I'll change it, Planet. It's more of a subtle, quiet leadership, but I was just wondering if it's more effective. Is that as effective or more effective than than loudly screaming out and doing all this shit, and then basically the hypocrisy by saying one thing very loudly but living in a completely different manner, okay, and living your life in a completely different manner. All right, because that is a lot of the leadership we see especially in politics and large corporations and shit. Tripwire, what's up, dude? Good afternoon, Trip. It's afternoon over there, isn't it? Or evening? Glad to see you here. What do y'all think about Gen X's leadership style and how we conduct ourselves? Is our quiet method of leading by example, is that the most effective way? Is that I don't know. In my opinion, it's the most moral way, okay, to lead by example, to set a good example and to lead that way, and walk the walk, because it's easy to talk the talk. We see everyone talking the talk, right? We see boomers out there talking the talk. We see a lot of people out there talking the talk. But I believe, and again, that goes to these old euphemisms, these old sayings that, and I don't know about Norway or Australia, but here in America, Gen X grew up with a lot of these old sayings from our grandparents and stuff, and they're just kind of deep seated into our psyche, walk the walk, talk the talk, all that stuff. Like I said earlier, a rolling stone gathers no moss. All these old sayings, and they just kind of got rooted into who we are. And that one, lead by example, is one we heard over and over again growing up, which nowadays you don't hear any of them. You don't hear that shit anymore. Bucky, what's up? Glad to see you here. Jeff7. My boy Buck. Glad to see you here, man. Jeff. Glad y'all could make it. But I think that even if Generation X's leadership style of, walking the walk, of leading by example, even if it isn't as effective in today's age of instant gratification and technology and clicks and all that shit, I believe it's morally more pure. It's better, in a moral way. It's the right thing to do, even when everyone else is doing it wrong. I believe that Gen X is doing it right. Sometimes you have to stand up. Shannon, what's up? Sometimes you have to stand up and do the right thing, no matter what everyone else is doing, just because it's right. And that's an important thing to instill in people, into the younger generation. Do what's right. And but I see the general flow of things and the mass hypocrisy and fakery and shit, and I see that maybe just walking the walk and leading by example, maybe that's not effective, in this new day and age. Not saying we should change. I'm not saying we should change. I'm just saying that it's not as effective. People seem to love and fawn after the hypocrisy and the fakery and shit. I don't understand that at all. Yeah, we grew up with courtesy. We didn't judge. We kept that morality, rightly or wrongly. Exactly, Trip. Now, and it may very well be wrong. Zombie, Mr. Hurst, what's up, dude? Glad to see you here. Yeah, now it very, very well could be the wrong way to go. You know what I mean? As far as being effective upon the world at large. But does Gen X give a shit whether we're effective on the world at large? Whether we're having an effect out there. Do we care? Honestly, do we care? Do you care? Do you give a shit? Or are you content just, leading by example, quietly, steadfastly, living, the best life you know how, and letting those actions speak for themselves, instead of getting out your bullhorn and getting out on the streets dressed like a tuna fish and, protesting No King's Day. That's the... Oh, you having your coffee, zombie? Yeah, we didn't put people on blast, Planet. Yeah. Ban them from parties sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, whatever, dude. Yeah. But I was thinking about that, and it kind of hit me that Gen X at large, as a rule, we lead by example, and that goes back to all of the... Yeah, Shannon. Yeah, I think most of us do. I definitely do. I will, I don't know what the thing would be, for me to get involved in some shit if someone was, hey, dog karma. If someone's life was at risk or something, I would try to help or whatever. But as far as just bullshit, I'm not getting into somebody else's bullshit. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, and that's the correct word, Tripwire. It might have been naive. It might be naive of us to believe that people would follow a good example. Maybe we had too much, maybe we gave people too much credit, right? That they would see a good example and choose to follow it. And I'm not just talking about, the younger generation, because we see the older generations now. Basically, the older generation is basically just boomers. I'm sure there are a few silent gens still around, but as far as a significant part of the population, they are not anymore. So it's basically boomers. We see boomers acting ridiculous. We see younger people acting ridiculous, and we're like, I don't know, we're like an island floating in a sea of ridiculousness, and we look around and all around us and we see ridiculousness, right? Just idiocracy. So maybe we were naive for thinking that we could give, set a good example for these idiots, and they would follow it. They would, wake up to what's going on in the world, but obviously that's not the case. Yeah, you're right, Hurst. We policed each other as kids and teens. Yeah, I think we can all relate to that, Shannon. We all have enough of our own BS, you know what I mean? We have, work and kids and family and everything. Why would I want more of that on my plate? You know what I'm saying? My plate is full. I don't need any more bullshit on my shit plate. So, yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, we weren't afraid to tell our friends to quit that stupid shit. You're right, Hurst. And that's the thing now. People are so afraid of being canceled and ostracized online and all that shit. They're doing it in Hollywood. They'll cancel each other and completely disown each other over something someone else said about that person. Then everybody just backs up and completely disowns the accused without any kind of evidence or anything. I've seen it happen we all have. It's just bullshit. So everybody's so afraid to step in and say, hey, that's bullshit. When Gen X is like the opposite of that. We're, almost trying to get canceled. We dare them to cancel us. You know what I mean? And that sets us apart, because that's raging against the machine, to be honest. This whole the social media machine. It's almost always Gen Xers who are posting the most inappropriate shit, daring Facebook or YouTube to cancel them. I said quite a few words on here on, Gen X stinks. Just normal words that we used to say, but are so inappropriate now. And my wife, I'll walk after the live stream or whatever, I'll walk back into the living room, and my wife's eyes are like this big. She's like, I can't believe you said that. Like, it's just a normal word, but not, you can't say that now, not in 2025. I said, well, I can. I just did. You know what I mean? So, I'm not trying to get canceled, but I don't know. It's hard for me, and I walk the line. Don't get me wrong. I'm not claiming to be on here, flouting every rule that YouTube has and trying to get canceled. I walk the line. But just in conversation, I'll say I'll say retard or whatever, stuff we used to just use. And that'll be a word that my wife will tell me again, you can't say that. But I'll say some shit like that, just in conversation. I'm not up here attempting to, but I think it's just in our nature to reject all those restrictions and stuff, because when we grew up, that stuff was just normal to us. And it's Gen X who even unconsciously pushes back against that. Everyone else is walking the line, trying not to get canceled. They're not pushing back against censorship. As a matter of fact, they're supporting censorship. Yeah, cancel them. Can't cancel everybody who would dare say, retard or whatever the word is. So it just, we know what those words meant when we use them. Now they want to change the word to mean something derogatory about another completely different group of people that, we're not even in the conversation. And so it, yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's just ridiculous. My mind spins off, dude, into how stupid it is. And I just, with the language. Yeah. Hurst, we get blind drunk in a field and still look out for each other. All right, zombie. I'll try to quit calling you Hurst. I did, I read it up there, and it's just my automatic instinct because I read everybody's name. I'll try to remember to call you zombie. Yeah, we're Gen X is probably the most censored generation, on any social media platform, YouTube included. I don't think there's any denying that. Yeah, exactly. Her zombie, calling something gay, when it had nothing to do with sexuality, that roller coaster's gay. That one's awesome. It just meant kind of weak and silly, not awesome, not extreme. So, and the same thing with retard. What was it? I saw a definition of the word retard. It meant it doesn't have anything to do with handicapped people. It had to do with someone who is acting stupid. And if you can't tell the difference, then you're retarded. That was awesome. It was a meme I watched. I saw. Yeah. Yeah, you got to care before you can get canceled. Exactly, Shannon. They've twisted the meanings of so many words, and that really harkens back to 1984. George Orwell was big about the language manipulation, and when you really think about it, that is how we view the world. With language. That's how our brains interpret the universe, is with language. And if they can manipulate that language, then they can manipulate your mind. So if they can convince you that someone is a Nazi, right? No matter what the person has done, no matter what, they can convince you that Mother Teresa was a damn Nazi. And so what the hell, So now Mother Teresa is bad because she's a Nazi. That kind of shit. It doesn't matter. The word Nazi has taken on a new meaning now. It used to mean, German soldiers or whatever it was back then. And their way of thinking, their philosophy, whatever the hell. Now it's just anyone who basically they've taken patriot and canceled that word and inserted Nazi. If you're a patriot now, if you were a patriot in the 80s, now you're a Nazi, basically. You know what I'm saying? Which is just completely ridiculous. But that's the way they manipulate the language and manipulate the way people, they take these words that everyone knows are horrible and then change the definition behind, and then they can use those words, and you can't look at a racist and defend them. You can't defend a racist or a Nazi, right? You just can't do that. As a moral, good person, you cannot defend a racist or a Nazi, all right? And that is the point. That's why they've changed the definitions of those words, and then they plaster them on just, whoever they don't like, so then they're indefensible. You can't defend a racist, even though the guy doesn't have a racist bone in his body, never uttered a racist syllable, but when they change the meaning of the word, now he's a racist, right? Newspeak, yeah. Yeah, and that is, yeah, they call it Jew a Nazi, yeah, doublespeak and all that shit, and that shit is real. George Orwell nailed that on the head. Either that or they took that out of his playbook and said, hey, that shit will work. You know what I mean? One or the other. I don't know if he was just prophetic or if, the powers that be learned from him. That's kind of a time paradox thing. The chicken or the egg type of deal. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, Orwell or the deep state? You know what I mean? Did Orwell inadvertently create the deep state by giving these some bitches ideas? Because they're going exactly according to his game plan with this doublespeak and the newspeak and all that shit, and they're controlling the narrative and controlling the media and controlling, and that's why, because of Orwell and that whole Pacifica and Europa or whatever it was, I forget now, I need to read that book again or watch the movie, but that whole just fake war they had going off in the distance, right? There was always war over there, and as far as the population knew, they were always at war, and in actuality there was no war. All they knew about the war was what they saw on TV, or back then it was the movie screen or whatever. So they were convinced that there was a war and that they had to support their government in this war effort, because the evil people on the other side of the ocean wanted to kill them all. Okay? Now, that's what makes me not 100% deep down question all these wars, right? But kind of. I'm not even sure, that some of these wars actually, now the ones, we come back and our veterans come back and they fought over there and stuff. Okay, that happened. But are we sure that all this, that all of this other shit is happening? I can't be sure. Some of that stuff might just be propaganda. I don't know. Yeah, they're hypocrites. Planet X. The chicken came first and then the egg. Yeah. There are plenty of different theoretical frameworks on initiating change and making it stick. Yeah. All right, Shannon. I believe that, and I honestly believe that they study and use psychology on the masses. You know what I mean? So they use all these techniques to control the population, to rile them up. And most of this stuff we see with, the No King's Day and stuff, this is all by design. This is all, a lot of these protesters at these No Kings events and Antifa and all that stuff, they're paid. They're bussed in. They bring them in on buses and drop them pallets of bricks and shit and pay them to do it. So, you get out there and you see people out in the streets who are marching for the bullshit you believe in, no matter what the shit is, then you're more likely to go out and join them. Now, if the street is just empty, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of guts to walk out there, and start it just by yourself. Just because people are afraid of looking stupid, But when there are, a dozen people out there already, hell, I'll go be a faceless body in that group. Nobody's gonna point me out. I'm not gonna feel stupid. I've got people around me, even if I don't know them. All their slogans and shit. I don't think that America should have a king. I'm gonna go out there. I'll put on my taco suit and go out there and protest with them. That's a lot easier. And they know that. The powers that be know that. So they bust these people in, and then the people start flooding out there. And that's just psychology 101. And it's not even psychology, it's just taking a few minutes to think about human nature. Because I know myself, if I thought about it, if I wanted to go out there on the street and protest and hold a sign and wave it around, I would feel like an idiot. I would feel like, some kind of just a moron. And people would drive by and look at me and think I was a lunatic, right? You probably would. If you drove by and saw one dude standing out there waving a big sign, you would think, okay, this moron is, wasting his time. Somebody needs to buy that guy a sandwich or something, get him something to eat, poor homeless guy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, but if a bunch of patriots are out on the street and they're protesting for something I believe in, freedom, anti-monopoly, stuff like that, then I might be more apt to join them. I might be more apt to go out there. That's the government knows that, and that's why they pull that shit. Yeah, the chain of command is the chain I beat you with until you understand who is in command. Yeah, zombie, you're absolutely right. Oh, okay. So you understand more than the rest of us, Shannon. I'm just kind of vaguely, talking around the topics. My basic understanding of human nature as a handyman who's watched some videos. You know what I mean? And thought about it a little bit. But you have a deeper understanding of that, Shannon. So yeah, yeah, exactly. Planet X, people get caught up in their emotion. We didn't talk about that shit when we were growing up. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Christopher, what's up, dude? Gen X never sleeps, dude. We never sleep and we never say die. Goonies never say die, dude. Yeah, exactly, Trip. None of that shit mattered. God's Warrior said it at first, or Planet Xer. Yeah. But yeah, black, white, male, female, gay, straight, none of that shit mattered to us. We just did our own thing. If you were cool, you were cool. If you weren't, you weren't. Whatever. You know, the only way you could really get ostracized was by being a poser or a snitch or something like that. You know what I'm saying? By your actions, not by the color of your skin or some other shit. So yeah, that and all that shit is not only being focused on now, but hyper focused. They're putting like the shit under a magnifying glass and hyper focusing on this shit, and it's really weird to see. Yeah, Planet X. If we give a shit, if we care enough to do it. Yeah, snitches get stitches, Shannon. And that's the thing, you know, where we're kind of at as Generation X. Do we give a shit, right? Am I going to spend my time and my effort, what resources I've managed to acquire throughout life, and am I gonna spend any of that on these morons out here trying to change their minds, trying to make this world a better place, trying to do whatever? Because when I look at it, throughout history, throughout time, when you look at right now with our technology and stuff and everything, the world could be damn near a utopia. Very well, it could be. We have just chosen not to. We looked at war and peace, and we chose war. We looked at poverty and, you know, affluence, and we chose poverty every single time. So what is there any, you know, real hope for humanity, or is it our destiny or our fate to rise up in technology and just crash, just implode? Is that our destiny, to implode, to destroy each other, you know, to destroy our entire civilization? And, you know, so, and if that is humanity's destiny, well, let's get on with that. You know, now I'm not speaking for all of Gen X here, I'm speaking just for myself. Let's get on with it. Let's see the implosion. You know what I mean? I'll sift through the rubble if that's what it is. If it's utopia, then let's get on with it. Let's stop the bullshit and get toward utopia. Stop all the infighting and the you know, the propaganda and the brainwashing and the stupidifying of our young people. Let's stop the shit. But that's, you know, we see so much of our population who are just stupid, and they're just completely, you know, bullshitted into believing that the destruction of mankind is the road to utopia. Okay, that's what they're fooled into thinking, and it's just complete and utter absurdity. It's frustrating when you think about it, and it's so frustrating that it makes me not give a shit. You know what I mean? It makes me just throw my hands up and say, you know, whatever, burn it down, y'all. You know, Do your thing. If that's what you're going to do, do it. I just wish you'd get it over with and do the shit. This long, protracted apocalypse is getting boring. Fell asleep on the roof after parties. Yeah. I woke up in yards, front yards that I didn't know who owned the house. I just woke up in somebody's front yard. That's when I was a teenager. Making a McDonald's manager cry. That's awesome. Yeah, Christopher, that Christopher kind of boiled it down, what I was saying there. Get on with living or get on with dying. Let's just do it. Back the old Nike ad, let's do it. Whatever the hell it is, just do it. And that is kind of the way we have lived. And Nike understood that about Generation X. That's why they made that ad. You can't tell these young kids now, just do it. They'd be like, just do what? What? What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? I'll get canceled if I do it. Yeah, if he dies, he dies. Yeah, Warriors come out to play. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that is so frustrating, is that they're convinced, a bunch of morons are convinced that the road to destruction is the road to utopia through the language and the psychological manipulation and shit. They're convinced that that's the road to utopia, that government lockdowns and government control, total government censorship, taking away, the Second Amendment and everybody's right to defend themselves, taking away all rights, total lack of freedom. That's utopia. For some reason, they have been sold that line of shit. Yeah. Yeah, Planet X. Some want to see it burn and some want to save it. Yeah. Yeah, Shannon. When you hear someone's idea at work and fighting the mouth-to-brain filter to not blurt what you're actually thinking about, said, great idea, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, zombie, that's exactly. There's no personal responsibility anymore. Nobody wants to stand up and say this is right, we should do this. Nobody wants to stand up and say we shouldn't do this because they'll get canceled or whatever. And now the public sentiment is skewed so far now because of bots and AI. You cannot go on social media and get any kind of vague idea what the public sentiment is on a topic, because there are so many bots and AI accounts and shit that are just fake algorithms, putting out a specific ideology that you can't tell the difference, so you count them as people. Okay, you count them as people, so it feels like there's just an overwhelming amount of support for this bullshit, and in actuality there's not. There's the numbers are smaller, but when you go on social media they seem large because of all the bots and shit, and that is just what's the word? It's just cut and dry propaganda, right? That's brainwashing. When you put out a message, blast a message, no matter what the medium is, whether it's Facebook or or Twitter or whatever your format is, if you're blasting out a message multiple times over and over and over again, it's propaganda. Now, I have had the luxury. I actually, when I served in Korea in the Army, I was actually stationed up on the DMZ. Now, you'll hear people say that, but they were like an hour south of me where I was stationed. You can look it up. The 1st and the 506, Camp Greaves is where I was at. You can look on the map, and then you can look down south and see Camp Casey. And Camp Casey's where they would say they're up north on the DMZ. I was in Camp Greaves on the DMZ. Okay, so the North Koreans would blast. They had speakers as big as a living room on these huge poles, and they would blast this propaganda constantly. Blah, blah, blah. You know, it was in Hanguk and, or Korean. That's what Koreans call their language. They would blast this shit 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All right? And they would fly over and drop leaflets, these little paper leaflets, and it would say, you know, the American pigs are trying to destroy, you know, our country. Come back home to North Korea, trying to get South Koreans to come back and dissolve the border and shit, right? Straight up propaganda. Now that, and I remember that the sound of the propaganda coming from those huge speakers, and it just blared 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I remember that for the first, you know, maybe week I was there. When I first got there, I stayed up at night. It kept me awake at night and shit. But then my mind got used to it and just blanked it out. I couldn't even hear it out. I don't remember hearing it after that. It was just constant 24 hours a day in the background, but I don't even remember hearing it anymore. It's crazy how that propaganda works. But that is straight up propaganda, and that is what's happening on the internet now. It's just 24 hours a day, you know, being blasted at us. And those of us with sense tune it out, and it's, you know, it's in the background now. But a lot of people now, they'll read that shit and they'll get in line with that. They'll trust that and believe it. Yeah, Planet Xer, yeah, exactly. And like, was it you or Zombie who said earlier, we just, you know, they can't cancel us because we don't care. They can't ostracize us. I mean, they do ostracize us, but, you know, from their point of view, from our point of view, I was never part of your group anyway. How can you ostracize me? How can you cancel me when I never had anything to do with your ass anyway? You know what I mean? That's like, you know, that's like them across town. They throw up a disco club across town, you know, and bring back the disco movement over there. And, you know, they put up a sign on their door, you know, Jesse is not welcome. I wouldn't even know it. I wouldn't even know that I'm not welcome there because I wouldn't give a shit. I would never go over there. It wouldn't cross my mind. I'm not interested. So, you know, of course, I am banned from the disco club. But from my point of view, nothing's changed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, Zombie. Yeah, they try to hurt our feelings. And I get that a lot, as you can imagine. You know, people trying to hurt my feelings on here in the comments and shit, but I just don't give a shit. So we don't. Gen X just doesn't care about that kind of shit for damn sure. Yeah, I heard that, Zombie. Mosques are blasting bullshit, and we've got Minnesota and New York. They're about to elect communist freaking, you know, whatever. Muslims, yeah, as mayor in New York and Minnesota. They're up there speaking a different language and shit. These people are off the rails stupid voting for this shit. So, that again, that goes back to what I was saying before. I can't run up there. I could run up there and start shouting in the streets in New York and blathering about how they're destroying their culture and they're destroying America doing that shit and voting for these people, but it's not going to do any good. It will not do any good. So why waste my time? Yeah, Trip. Our skins are thick and our feathers are waterproof. Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah. Yeah, we don't care what they think, how they feel. We know right from wrong. We know that. We grew up knowing that. We grew up with there's a gray area. Don't get me wrong. Some shit is in the gray area. But the major things, there's right and there's wrong. You know what I mean? And we know that. We know what those are. So, and no amount of propaganda and bullshit is going to confuse us on those topics. They're not gonna get me confused about what the hell is right and what is wrong. Lying is wrong. The truth is right. I don't care how many ignorant ass CEOs get up there and give TED Talks, and how many of these people get up there and say that the truth is just inconvenient now. It's just it's just in our way now. We really want to focus on more important things than the truth. That's just a road bump for our agenda. They get up there and say that shit with a straight face, trying to convince people of that. And I just can imagine sheep and cattle and goats and shit out there in the audience. Oh yeah, you're right. The truth is just a pain in the ass, isn't it? What a facts? Reality? Oh, what a downer. That yeah, we just got to get rid of that shit altogether. We just get rid of it. We just won't acknowledge it anymore. You know what I'm saying? And that is not the Gen X way. We want truth and facts and reality because that is where we live. We live in the world of truth and facts and reality, and that is how you need that to survive in this world. To just ignore all that shit is just a recipe for disaster. Yeah, I have no idea, Zombie. What is it like to be so weak that words hurt you? They've convinced people that words are violence. And these people believe it literally, that words are violence. That is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life. Words are violence. No, actually, violence is violence. That's another thing that another word that they've manipulated, right? Violence. Well, just saying the word retard is violent. Now I just enacted violence upon the public just now. That's what they would have you believe. All right, just saying a word that we said many times to each other, and we would never say to a disabled person back in the day, but we said to each other all the time, whatever. And now it's enacting violence. So the propaganda, the disco's dead, thank God, right, Christopher? Yeah, we don't care what random internet strangers, if they like me or whatever, Shannon. Yeah, we don't care. Yeah, we tried to get banned from places. Yeah. I got banned from a whole town, Zombie. I don't know if you've seen that video where I told that story. Yeah, but I got banned from an entire town. As far as I know, the restriction is still in place. The name of the place was Tumwater, Washington. But I was banned from there. It was awesome. I mean, I was being an idiot kid. Don't get me wrong. I was being an idiot. And But it was awesome. How many people have gotten banned from a town? So yeah, that's one thing I can say. I've gotten banned from a town. Shark bite, what's up? Yeah, that's another old proverb, an old saying that we live by. Like I was saying earlier when I first started the podcast, the episode, Shark Bite said another one. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Now, we grew up with that. That was an old saying that we grew up with. And, lead by example, a rolling stone gathers no moss, all these different old sayings. And they're kind of ingrained in who we are now because we heard them so many times. But those old sayings were true. They were true. And they are good. They're good life advice. Why would you want to allow words to hurt you? I mean, you're signing up for a life of misery and pain. Yeah, that's just a fact. I can decide right now from this day forward, I, Jesse, am going to allow words to hurt me, or I'm not. I'm going to ignore them. Which one will I choose? One is a life of complete pain, constant pain, because people are constantly saying words all the time. Or one is a life of relative ease, in that category. Painless as far as words go. Well, it just makes common sense to me that every single person on the planet would choose the latter. The words don't hurt me, but they don't. They choose the pain and misery path. And it just does not make sense. Whooping some smart ass back in grade school, yeah. Now, back then, that's one thing that's been taken away from us is, or the kids anyway, is the ability to just get in a fist fight and learn from that. You learned how far you could push things, right? It wasn't, now we have all this anonymous shit online and these trolls, now a 13-year-old can get on here and just troll the shit, and just say whatever to me, a 54-year-old dude, and have no respect, get on here and say all kinds of crazy shit or whatever. And, and then I choose whether I'm going to allow that to affect me, or not. Am I going to let some 13-year-old kid piss me off and get me all riled up and shit? Hell no, But back in grade school and stuff, we just scuffle in the dirt. Somebody pushed you too far, but you just handle your business. Whether it be at the bus stop. I don't know how many fist fights I got in at the bus stop, just constantly. Once a week at least, seemed like. Banned from Canada. Damn, that's awesome. I thought I was awesome for getting banned from a town. Dude got banned from a country. Yeah, that would be pretty damn awesome. Well, depending on what it was for. If it was just for acting up, public disturbance or something, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, we use sticks and stones for entertainment. All right, Planet Xer. Well, I love having y'all here, man. Seriously. Yeah, that takes effort to get banned from a country. You have to create a disturbance, a real disturbance. Yeah, Christopher, shark bite capital of the world, because we have a lot of pasty New Yorkers coming down here and splashing around in our water. Yeah. And after the sharks are full, then, and they swim off satisfied, then, then the Floridians will get in the water. We wait for the sharks to get done eating. James Andrew Morrison. No, when I was a kid, I had to have maple syrup on my pancakes or just eat them dry. You know what I mean? That's just bread. So no, I ate maple syrup on my pancakes back in the day when I was a kid. Yeah, I slathered that shit on there and choked it down. Yeah, no, I just despise it now. I despised it back then too, but I wasn't gonna starve to death, so I ate that shit. But no, I don't buy it. If I go into the store now, I don't buy maple syrup. Maple syrup, no, I don't do that shit. I'll buy another flavor of syrup, or just honey is my favorite. I like putting honey on my pancakes. It's just so expensive, but honey or jelly a lot of times, some stuff like that. But no, I ate that shit back in the day. Yeah, that's why I hate it now, because I was forced to eat it back in the day and eat it all the time, right? Like 2 or 3 meals a day, that's all we had. My dad would get the big old jug of maple syrup and, the Krusties pancake mix, if any of y'all are familiar with that. It was called Krusties. I'm not making this up. And yeah, that's all we'd have to eat for sometimes weeks. So yeah, so I just despise that shit. Oh man. Oh, okay. We'll get deported. I'd get deported from Canada. That's why. Maybe I can get kicked out of Canada. Maybe I can add Canada to my kicked out. Could you go up there and just refuse to eat maple syrup? Yeah. Quark. Quark. Hey, Quark. I got to say Quark today. That's awesome. Oh yeah, that's awesome. I got to say Quark in a real setting. Just not saying it to myself in my van. Quark. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't count. Not that I say Quark all the time. Just talking to myself and shit. I just like the dog with squirrel. Quark. I'm just saying that's pretty awesome. I got to say it today. Sometimes you just get to say some cool shit once in a while. I got to say some cool shit today. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Shannon, Canada, the second largest country in the world. Yeah, between the two of us, we have a huge landmass. Boysenberry? Yeah. Yeah, Planet X. I don't know if I've had boysenberry. I've had blueberry and I've had all kinds of. I might have had boysenberry. I just don't remember it. You got a full bottle of real maple. See, maybe that's it. Maybe if I had some real artisan, maple syrup, maybe I might like it. I don't know. I've just. Since I was a kid, I've never eaten the shit since I was a kid. Since I got old enough to choose my own food, I refuse to eat that shit. So, but maybe it's different. Of course, Krusty's was the literally cheapest pancake mix you could buy. So I'm sure that my father bought the cheapest maple syrup he could buy. It probably didn't even have actual maple in it. It was just some flavoring that kind of resembled maple. You know what I mean? It was the absolute cheapest shit. So, yeah, I might actually like real maple syrup. But I'm not. I'll never find out. I'm just saying. Krusty's makes the best waffle mix. The hell you say, Shannon? Krusty's doesn't make anything good. I don't believe that. Now I believe Shannon is, I believe Shannon is living outside of reality now. I'm talking about real stuff, truth and facts, Shannon. Krusty's does not make anything good. No, their pancakes might be fine. You know, even their pancakes or their waffle mix, they probably make a great waffle mix. But I just, you know, my memories as a kid, I just remember eating that shit. I mean, literally over and over again, to where you know, it's insane burnout, you know. And then just the name, me and my brothers and sisters, you know, we would make fun of that name, Krusties. We gotta eat Krusties again. Crusty underwear and shit. Oh, okay. Boysenberry is a California thing. All right, Quark. I got to say it again. Quark. That's awesome, dude. Elderberry. Oh, all right. For immunity? Planet Xer? All right. Yeah, that you're probably right, James. It probably was just caramelized sugar and maple flavoring. Yeah. Mustang, great. Ezekiel, what's up, dude? Glad to see you here. Glad you can make it. Orange juice instead of water, zombie? I've never heard that before. That sounds like it might actually kick ass. Oh, Canada was Florida's #1 trading partner. Yeah, yeah. I give Canadians and New Yorkers and shit a hard time sometimes, but they, you know, all of the tourism and stuff from those northern places because they want to come down and see the beaches and the sunshine and stuff. That's a big part of our livelihood down here in Florida. So, you know, I'm just giving y'all shit if you're from Canada or New York or whatever. Just hacking on y'all. We don't really, you know, wait for sharks to eat y'all or whatever. Now, it is kind of funny when y'all walk your dogs next to a pond and a gator grabs it. I will say that if somebody catches you on video walking your little toy dog next to a pond and a gator comes up, I will laugh. I will laugh at that shit. So don't do that. Don't walk your dog next to any water in Florida, period. Oh, okay. Knott's Berry Farm, Quark? Okay. That's pretty damn cool, dude. Oh, can of creamed corn in your cornbread mix. Damn, I never thought of that. I bet that shit's good, zombie. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, yeah, and fun, Christopher. Yeah. No, they don't understand our climate. Yeah, people can't drive in the rain down here. People come from up north and just can't drive in the rain. You think people can't drive in the snow? Why can't you drive in the rain? Well, I don't know. I don't know why people can't drive in the rain. But it'll pour down, I mean hard, and you can only see, you know, a little ways in front of you. And people will put their flashers on and hit their brakes and shit. I mean, they get confused when it rains real hard and it limits visibility. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Until America acquired it. Oh, the Jiffy Factory? Alright, zombie. That's pretty cool. Yeah, the left lane is for those with speeding ticket money. You're right. Yeah, yeah, James. Yeah. We actually there have been a couple of videos posted online where some old man will be walking his little dog, you know, along the pond and a gator will just come up and grab it and drag it back into the water. And one old guy jumped in there and got his dog back, pulled the gator's jaws apart and got his dog back. Yeah, I mean, awesome video. But all native Floridians know that. You know, you don't walk your little dog along. You just, you know, you're asking for it to get grabbed. You know, so you don't do that shit. Oh, key lime juice mixed with Cool Whip, then add that to your pancakes. Ah, shark bite. Yeah, that sounds pretty damn good, dude. I can't lie. Like a corn fritter. Oh, all right, zombie. Adjust established recipes. Yeah, that's a talent to experiment and find good shit. Yeah, go with God when it rains. Yeah, dude. That's one thing. Like, it's not quite. It's almost like monsoon season in Korea. That was just the most insane, and I'm sure it's worse even than that in other places of the world. But in my experience through my life, that's the most insane rain you'll ever see is the monsoon season over there in Korea. It will come down so hard that you can't see 5 feet. In broad daylight, you can't see 5 feet in front of you because there's just water in the way, in the sky, in the air in front of you, sheets of water, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. And along the Imjin River, when the monsoon comes down and it rains that hard, you'll hear the Korean army start shooting into the river, pop, 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 like that, just to make sure, because they can't see the river anymore. So to make sure that no North Korean infiltrators are coming through, and crossing the river, so they just start lighting up the river with machine gun fire. Yeah, every time it rains like that. So that was another thing that I just kind of got used to over there when it started raining real hard. You'd hear those machine. Those machine guns are going to start cracking off. Yeah, just a completely surreal place to be, to spend a year like that. Constant propaganda, blah, 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 blah. Leaflets falling from the air, insane rain and random machine gun fire. Dude, it was awesome, man. I can't tell you. It was awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Tripwire being offended by a red light. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love those commercials. Planet Xer. This ain't paste pecani sauce. This stuff's made in New York City. And then he'd flash the other guy, get a rope. I used to love those paste commercials back in the day. Completely inappropriate nowadays. They couldn't do that shit. Quark says speed limits are suggestions in California. Oh yeah, just maybe 75-ish, somewhere around there. Something like that. Pennywise is misunderstood, zombie. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, Shannon, you can see the gator eyes. They'll be peeking up out of the water. Yep, and they're all over the place. And for a while, they were kind of like I don't want to say endangered species, but they were on that list. They were close to becoming endangered or something. And then, they made laws to protect them. They made them a protected species, and now they're just everywhere. Yeah, every body of water. I have seen them. I've driven through these, retirement communities, and saw, trying to think how to describe this, a guy up on the putting green, with his little putter and shit, and then between him and me, the land, the grass sloped down into one of those ponds around the green, one of the pond traps or whatever. And between the water and him, about 3/4 of the way up, was about a probably 6 or 7 foot alligator, but he couldn't see it from where he was. It was just right down the thing from him, and he's up there with his back to it, just putting, and that gator wasn't going to bother him. But yeah, that's not an uncommon sight to just be driving along and see a gator out there sunning, on a golf course here in Florida. Yeah, no poaching alligators anymore. Yeah, home style chili. Yeah, we have chili cook-offs all the time in my area. You're always seeing a sign for, whatever chili cook-off. We love chili here. Almost as much maybe as Texans. We love our chili. Yeah, snapping turtles are good eating. Yeah, Ezekiel, you're right about that. Tripwire says they had gators over there, but the sharks ate them. Yeah, y'all have those huge crocodiles over there in Australia, don't you? Doesn't Australia have the biggest damn crocodiles in the world? Or is that Africa? I don't know. I've seen those saltwater crocs. Those things are huge. No, I didn't like kimchi, Christopher. Um, my favorite was yaki mandu, a dish called yaki mandu. It looked like tiny little tacos, but with the open end pinched shut. You know what I mean? With a meat filling. They were delicious. Yeah, I love those things. Yeah, we've got all that same stuff here too. Planet Xer, gators, cottonmouth, snapping turtles. Yep. Yeah. Lots of frogs and what else? Black bears. We've got a lot of black bears here too, which is surprising so far south down here, but yeah. Mike Fleisner, my boy, what's up, dude? Glad you can make it. Yeah, that's one cool thing about, excuse me, about the United States and Canada too, but more so the United States, is that we've got so many different, like what are they called? Not climates, ecosystems. Over there in New Mexico and stuff, we've got just straight up desert. It's just straight up desert. Then we got mountains and swamps and forest and tundra and all kind of, you know what I mean? You can visit almost every ecosystem on the planet without leaving the continental United States. That's awesome, dude. That's one of the reasons I love the country, our geography. I love our country because of the geography. You can see alligators and polar bears and, well, Alaska's outside the continental United States, but that without, inside the United States and be inside the United States borders, you can see alligators and polar bears probably in the same day if you took an airplane. So, yeah, cougars. We used to have jaguars here in Florida, but I don't know if we do anymore. Black panthers and shit. I don't know. They might be extinct now. I haven't heard of a jaguar. I used to hear about them all the time when I was a kid, but I don't think we have them anymore. Everybody killed them. Or just, invaded their habitat and took their habitat to where they don't have any place to go. Oh, okay. Nile crocodiles have the highest rate of human attack. Yeah, it is. Planet X or America is just a beautiful country. And every country is beautiful in its own way. We just have so much variety. But I think Australia is one of those countries that has a lot of variety too. They've got the mountains and the coastal, and they've got their arid area. They've got a lot too. They might have swamps in Australia, I'm not sure. Yeah, well, the panther is actually just a jaguar with with a color. You know what I mean? It's just a jaguar with that black gene. So you probably already know that, but yeah, it's the entire jaguar. We used to have jaguars native to Florida, but I think they were either all hunted to extinction here, or just, you know, they lost their habitat to humans. Another thing, one cool kind of trivia statistic that I always thought was awesome was that the animal with the most attacks on people, the animal that kills the most people, is the hippopotamus. Yeah, those things are vicious. You go floating down the river, the Nile River, and come around a corner and just get charged by a hippo, and they'll just take your ass down. You know what I mean? I think after the hippo, it's the mosquito and shit that kill the most people every year. It's crazy. They're wild animals anyway. You know, they're probably domestic animals, might kill a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah, because they're okay. Yeah, any cat can be black. Yeah, same thing with jaguars. They throw a black jaguar once in a while. And then we called it the panther. The black panther. Which is confusing because we call the mountain lion the panther the cougar. The cougar has so many different names. Cougar, mountain lion, panther, right? But then people would see a big black cat like that and they called it a black panther, and it's not related to the mountain lion. It's actually a jaguar. So that's why a lot of people are confused about that, about the black panther. Because it's not a panther, it's not a cougar, it's got nothing to do with the mountain lion. It's actually a jaguar. Yeah, we've got lots of bobcats here in Florida. All right, everybody. Yep, it's time. So, thank y'all for showing up and hanging out with me. Planet Xer, Christopher, Zombie, Shannon, Quark, Tripwire, Lake, Bucky, Dog Karma. Who else we got here? Oh, Mike Fleisner, Shark Bite, Oliver Rust, Ezekiel. Did I get everybody? All right. Well, thank y'all for showing up and hanging out with me. If I did not say your name, I apologize. James Andrew Morrison. If I did not say your name, I apologize. I just have to scroll back through the comments and try to get everybody. Did I say Shark Bite? Thank y'all for hanging out with me this morning. And don't forget, we'll have a live stream this evening at 7. Tuesdays and Thursdays we have live streams in the morning and the evening. 7 p.m. Eastern time. So feel free to join us for our evening conversation tonight. And then tomorrow, of course, there'll be a regular pre-recorded video. But Tuesdays and Thursdays are our live stream days. So be sure to tune in and hang out with us. We'll have another great conversation. We've never had a boring one. We've done a lot of these live stream now, y'all, and we've never had a boring one. I love these damn things. So thank y'all very much for contributing to the conversation and hanging out with me. I'll leave you there with that. As always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.